Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NUFC360 podcast. With me this week is our American representative, Bo, and Simon Jordan's best friend, Jack Cunningham. How are we, guys?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yes, Jack, you can come on every week because you said that question back to me. I'm very well, thank you. Watching Norman, obviously, the other episode where no one ever answers that question, and I'll keep banning it, but I'm just too darn polite from the North.
Mm-hmm.
So this week we're going to do our preseason. Football is back. Guys, I know we've been chatting before we came on about championship football and just everything. Excitement levels are rising. But we're going to get this out of the way quickly because it's been, for me, not a very good one. I'll go to you first, Bo. From view from afar, transfer window is still open. Season kicks off Friday. Have we done enough business in your eyes so far? I think I know everyone's answers, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
Unfortunately, no. If we really want to make that push for a top 5, top 4, I don't think we've done enough to get to there right now. And obviously things can change in the next couple of days, but I don't think we've done enough to strengthen our top 11, our starting 11.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, much more to add to that.
I think with the transfer window, it's difficult to judge right now. I think it'd be a bit harsh to say, it's been a bad transfer window. I think you can say, yes, up to this point, it's not been maybe what everyone was expecting, but let's wait until the end of the transfer window. It's not like what it used to be like under Mike Ashley, where you could pretty much tell by now, right, we're not signing anyone, that's it, right? It's done. All right, fine. We might get Rondon on loan. Brilliant. No worries.
Oh, I'd have him back, mate.
I mean, yeah, Rondon was brilliant signing, but, in that summer, that was one of the only players we signed. So, that's an issue there. And then if you look at what we've done so far, so I think 2 reserve goalkeepers,
It's up there. Yes.
Yeah, 2 reserve goalkeepers.
And still no sign of selling the second place one in Dubravka. So
yeah, so we've got 5 goalkeepers now. Yeah.
Yeah.
5
so we're doing our best to copy Chelsea. So go on, Jack.
Yeah. I think if you look at what we needed at the start of the transfer window, I would have said a young striker. I would have said 2 strikers if Wilson was going, but Wilson's got injured, so you can't actually sell him, so he's staying. I would have said a young striker. I would have said a right winger and 2 centre-backs. We've signed 1 centre-back on a free in Lloyd Kelly. We would have had a second one. We've had Tosun Adrabayo, and then all of the money would have been able to be spent on probably a young forward and a right winger. Yep. Obviously, it didn't work out. He decided to go to Chelsea. So, obviously, it's all in on Mark Guehi. Mm-hmm. We're not sure what's going on there, but they've rejected the 3rd bid. So, we'll have to see. And then a right winger, I think everyone pretty much would look at the team and say, yes, if you can get a top quality right winger to complement the midfield and the left winger and Alexander Isak and Wilson, then Newcastle have got an extremely brilliant front 3. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, we've not signed a right winger yet, and we've got 1 centre-back. We've got the young striker in Osula, who I think by all accounts looked good in his pre-season debut, and I'm sure will make an impact off the bench, even just because, yes, his goal-scoring record is beyond rubbish. I mean, it's non-existent, but he's quick, he's strong, he's clearly got the right profile, and there's someone there to work with. So, let's see. So I think the transfer window, overall, in my opinion, at this moment in time, we just got to wait and see until we get to the end of it. And if we don't sign a right winger, we don't sign another centre back, or we only got one of the 2, then you can fairly criticise the board.
Yeah, I mean, when I was thinking about the transfer window before we came on, I was thinking a lot more negatively until you kind of said, what do we need? And yes, the young striker that we got, Osula, very raw. I didn't know until you told me there that he hasn't scored a goal, which is a little concerning that's his entire job. But at the friendly, he was pressing, he scored. It was offside, but he still scored a very good goal, took his opportunity as well. So I'm excited to see him. But yeah, Lloyd Kelly looked fine. I'm not terribly excited, but it's a steadier way, a bit more depth. We could have done with him last year. His range of passing looked really good as well. So I'm happy with that. But I keep juxtaposing it with, because I'm putting the transfer window that happened before everything reset in June. I'm still counting that, and I'm seeing, I'm forever going to cry about Minter, but he's had a great preseason. Brian keeps scoring in every game that they've had, and having to sell Anderson, though I didn't rate him that highly. It's irritating because when the takeover happened, you wanted not to sell unless we, wanted to. Yeah. So, I mean, if you were to put a number on this, welcome to you again, what would you say out of 10 so far? Because like Jack rightly said, judging it right now, last year, when we signed Isaka was one of the last days of the season.
Yeah.
And if it was to be done with what the business we've done so far, what would you rate Newcastle out of 10 in regards to how they've gone about their business and who they've targeted and who they've got?
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. It's one of those things where, Jack even said it. There are some things that we have done. We've gotten that young striker. We've gotten a center back who can also play left back and is a bit more flexible. And then we have cover for, if we lose a goalkeeper or two. But, if we look at the season and kind of the things that we're looking forward to, obviously Sandro Tonali comes back, which allows a little bit more rotation within the midfield, and hopefully, in terms of injuries, we'll be a bit more lucky and fortunate this season. So, if the transfer window was to end today, it would probably be a 6 out of 10. Hopefully, we can get at least one more person in before the end of the transfer window in order to bolster the squad a little bit more.
Yeah, Jack, any advances on a 6?
Yeah, I think if the transfer window were to end today, I'd give it a 5. Actually, to be really honest, because as I said, if I go back to what I said with the 4 key positions that I felt were needed, we've signed 2. So right by logic, that's a 5 out of 10. If you get the other 2 players, you say it's a 10 out of 10, as long as they're the right players, of course. But I think Lloyd Kelly will turn out to be a good signing. It was a free transfer. There was a lot of clubs wanted him. He's athletic, he's strong, he's good on the ball, and he knows Eddie Howe kind of inside out, because Howe signed him when he was at Bournemouth. So I'm happy with Lloyd Kelly. And then, of course, we've got Asula as well. But yeah, I think 5 out of 10 for now. Let's just see. We've got ends on the 31st of August, so just under 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's
coming quick.
I'm telling you now, though, boys. If it ended now, I'm giving it a 4. I'd be so annoyed that is the way it's gone, and it would be towards blaming the club. Right now, I don't, because of the market and what's happening in the rules. We know what they are, but yeah, I'd give it a 4. So far, I've been very unhappy with the way things gone. But as I say, very early days, and I'm a little grumpy man. For everyone that's got made this far as well, do like, share, and subscribe. We are growing very quickly. We really appreciate all the support we've had so far. I'll put this question out to you this time, Jack. For this season coming, who would you say needs a big season? Who's got pressure on their shoulders that they need to perform?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. So obviously, we were talking a little bit before, for planning and stuff for this. And I decided in my head that I'm going to rule out players who I think could be sold. Mm-hmm. So I'm not considering Miggy. I'm not considering Trippier. I'm not considering anyone like that. So I've got 3 players who I think need to have good seasons, because there is no danger of them being sold this summer, but potentially next season, if things don't go well, they could be sold. So I'm going to go for Joe Willock, even though it's probably one of my favourite players in the Newcastle team. But I actually think he needs to have a really good season, because there was Achilles injuries last season where we missed him so much. Like, I think people didn't actually realise how much you miss Willock until he's not in the team, or when he's in the team, he's not fully fit, because a fully fit Willock totally changes the way we play and the way we press and the way we can take the ball up the pitch. There's not many other midfield players in the Premier League who can carry the ball as well as he can, like in the Premier League as a whole. And I think under Eddie Howe, his passing's massively improved as well. So I think Willock, definitely, we just want to see him fully fit, to be honest. And I just want to see him have a big season for us, get back in that midfield, and just let's see what he can do. Like, for me, I think he's got potential to play for England. I really do. I think he's that good, but he needs to prove it now. Harvey Barnes, again, not necessarily his fault. Last season
went Harvey Barnes as well.
Yeah, strange toe injury. A very, very strange toe injury. He was talking about it recently, and he said that, he didn't even know what it was. The medical experts didn't even know what it was, really. So he had advice between have surgery, not have surgery, decide not have surgery, and just sort of rest it. And he came back and he scored some important goals. I think, to be honest, the double he got against West Ham changed our season entirely. Massively. I think if we lost that, we would have been about 8 points behind West Ham with about 6 games to go or something like that. But in the end, we finished well above them. So I think Barnes totally changed that. And I think he can have a big season. But again, he's going to be a player who's going to start the season on the bench, probably like Willock. So he's going to have to force his way in. He's going to be an impact sub, but he's definitely got the potential to get 10 goals, I think. He's such a good finisher. Yep. He just needs... I think the rest of his game, I think you see signs of stuff. Like, but I do think he does drift in and out of games. Like sometimes if he doesn't start the game well, he seems to just go missing entirely. But if he starts the game well, he links up well and he seems to get in the good positions and everything. So I think he needs to have a good season. And then finally, Tonali, he owes us. I think, I think, the club especially have really stuck with him, supported him. There's been no been no public criticism or anything like that. It's always been positive words, and then obviously his teammates have rallied around him. And from his debut, we looked like we had a world beater. I think after that, he had some pretty average games. He had some really good games. So I think once he gets back in the team, I think Tonali needs to have a good season. Yeah, I really do, because I think £55 million, a lot of money. What sort of happened is maybe not necessarily his fault. It's an addiction. I totally get that. But in the end, he was out for a long time. And I think he does always. So yeah, they're my three.
I'm a lot harsher on Tonali than you. I think if people do hide behind that, not his fault. I was like, well, ultimately, yeah, he has to, for me, walk on water. I completely agree. I like those three. He has to walk on water for me. I completely agree with you. When that Aston Villa game, I said to my dad, I've never seen a debut like it. He didn't put a foot wrong. All his passes went there. All his dribbles were great. Tackles were perfect. Goal that he scored was amazing. I was like, this guy is insane. And then I didn't realize he played 14 more games after that.
Yeah.
Down, did a Trippier, just went in reverse, didn't he? And clearly it was because this stuff was coming out, and clearly it was in his head, I hope. So yeah, if we get Aston Villa Tonali back, I might look to forgive him and go, yeah, fair enough, lad. But he really does need, and you're completely right, he does owe the club, because he has been shielded from a lot of a lot of public grief. And I like the Barnes shout as well. I almost had him on my list, Harvey Barnes, only because, as you say, he's an impact sub. But there's not many players apart from Isak, I think, that can score goals like him. You just see like that lovely goal. Was it Luton he scored past with his left foot? Where he passed along the floor. Yeah. Great goal. So I think only him can do that sort of thing. Bo, who's your player or players or anyone in the club that needs to do better this season? Who's got a big season coming?
Yeah, Jack, I think that's a good shout. And I'll name off three very, very quickly. One of the ones that I think of kind of relates actually to Tonali a little bit, and it's actually Sean Longstaff. We know that he obviously is very well liked by the club and by Eddie Howe. And recently he has come out and spoken about his time at Newcastle, just growing up there and just having the pressure and kind of rising above it. But I think this year, one, with Tonali coming back, and two, with his contract being up in 2025, the club's got to make a decision. And it's one of those things where, hey, are we going to try and cash in on him? Maybe get 15, 20 million, see if what we can do, or are we actually going to re-sign him to another contract, either as a squad player or see if he actually improves his game and breaks into the starting 11? Because I think we all understand 2 years ago he was integral into everything that we were doing that year to get to Champions League. But at the same time, we know that last year when Tonali came in, his spot was the one that was taken. So, he's really got to look at this year and say, hey, am I going to actually be better each week? Or, are there going to be times when I'm just flopping to the ground because somebody's touched me? Or is he going to actually come on and contribute more goals and be that workhorse that we know he is? So I think that's one of the biggest ones. Another one, honestly, I think he's done an excellent job. And the only reason I'm saying this is just because of what the club is doing right now in the transfer market. And that's actually Fabian Schär. We know he's extremely dependable. We know he's 32, 33. He's getting up there in age. He gets injuries from time to time, but still plays through them and still does a great job. But at the same time, the club knows, hey, he's getting old. We need to eventually replace him. How are we going to do it? So even if Gahey was to come in and sign for Newcastle, it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, is Schär going to be able to push him those first couple games and keep his spot? Or is this something where, he would come in and be like a Jamal Lascelles where he immediately gets pushed to the back and only comes in on cup games or something of the sort like that? So I do think those two are two really big ones. And another person who I think has done an excellent job so far is Jacob Murphy. I mean, if you asked us 2 years ago, you look at Murphy, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this guy is great for cup games. He's great for comic relief. He's good for the memes. But that's really it. But, we've seen his game kind of evolve just over the last year, whether it's Thunder Cunts against Spurs or just amazing goals in Tokyo. We've seen him kind of improve his game. So I think I'm telling you, I think the improvement from Jacob Murphy has actually helped Eddie Howe at least feel like he doesn't need a winger as much, even though we as fans want somebody who can come in and take the job from both him and Miggy. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Murphy comes out, has a great season and gets another deal. To be honest, I know his contract is up in 2026, so those three would probably be the ones for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Longstaff one. I think what Longstaff has is the fact that we've got the two Miley brothers coming through who are going to play in his position. And if the club can cash in, as we know, and these wonderful rules we've got, selling Miggy for 20 or Sean for 20, it's better to sell Sean, even if he has a great season or not. So I think you're absolutely right with Longstaff in that regard. Mine, I was going to say Tonali, as everyone knows my opinion on Tonali. So I've said my piece on him. But I think one for me was Hall. I think Hall has to have a big season. Last season, I was incredibly disappointed with his lack of appearances, but that was obviously Eddie's call, and in Eddie we trust. And I think obviously it was clearly the right way to go about it, because when he came on, maybe he looked a bit shaky, he wasn't very confident, and clearly, I was getting told by everyone he's a midfielder, we're converting him to a left back, which I still can't get my head around when he's by a left back. But when we see him in this new system, he's coming in centrally and he is looking better defensively. And towards the last 2 or 3 games and now in preseason, he's looked good. I would love to see him start, which we'll come on to our starting 11s in a moment, but I'd love to see him start, and I'd love to see him get given a chance, especially against Southampton, which I expect we're going to slap up. And I would also say it's going to be a big season for Tino. Tino Livramento on the other side. Whether or not he starts, I don't know. I'd like to see him start. Again, injuries. I think we've spoken about every player so far with injuries, but I think a big season. He gives us something different on that side. Obviously, Trippier's slower, but has the calmness about him, can whip a ball in better. But this lad can just attack and run and take players on and cause all sorts of panics in the back lines of the opposition. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what he can do this season. Again, if he starts, but we don't know. Moving on to Southampton then. Starting 11s, Jack. What to ask? I think we all know who Eddie Howe would start.
Yeah.
So what would your starting 11 be against Southampton?
Yeah. So
who would you like to see?
I think there's only 2 positions that are really up for grabs, really.
I'd agree.
So, yeah. Although actually, I don't know. I think he might start Trippier actually over Tino. I've got a sneaky feeling that might happen. But I would go with Pope in goal. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean,
outrageous.
He's the number 1. He makes such a difference to the defense. Pope in goal. Tino at right back. I'd go Cher. I'd go Kelly actually over Byrne. I'd go Lewis Hall. I think Hall will be the left back all season. I've seen more than enough in pre-season. It seems like Eddie Howe's totally convinced by him now. He's played loads of minutes at left back. I think Hall will be Newcastle's left back, and I think he's going to be brilliant, to be honest. I love his technique. I love everything about him, to be honest. So I think he's going to be class. He's at left back. Bruno in the 6. Joe Linton on the left-hand side midfield. Or kind of he probably kind of plays the 8 kind of thing as well, to be fair, like sort of box to box. And then I would go Willock, but it'll probably be Longstaff. But I would go Willock just because I love Willock and I want him in the team. And then I'd go with Gordon, obviously on the left. Even though he's only played 45 minutes of pre-season, I thought he looked really sharp.
He did. Took his goal well.
He took his goal well, and look, the confidence is flowing through his veins at the moment. He's got to keep playing him. Right wing Murphy had a brilliant pre-season. Was it 5 goals, I think, in pre-season, which is some return. I know it's only pre-season, but still shows that the confidence is maybe back with him as well. And also Murphy is really good at crosser of the ball. Possibly our second best crosser of the ball, maybe behind Trippier. So I would definitely have Murphy in for that. And then, I mean, is there any question who the striker is? It's obviously Isak, and Isak will score at least one on Saturday.
Yeah, he was looking, for those who haven't seen preseason, he's been looking sharp. He's been looking silky smooth, buttery smooth. But who would you? Probably easy to say. Who would you swap out? Who are your 1 or 2 changes to what I mostly agree starting 11?
Yeah, it's probably about the same. I actually think that Byrne will probably start over Kelly.
That's what I think.
Just because I think Eddie really loves that consistency. He probably might get subbed out, but I think Byrne would probably start instead of Kelly. In fact, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Byrne comes in on left and Kelly comes in at center back, to be honest, or swap that. I would not be surprised at all. I do think that you're going to see trips. I don't know if he'll play the old game, but I do think that he will be put in there for a bit. I believe at the last friendly, he actually asked for more minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie kind of is like, okay, let me give him some more minutes and see if he's kind of kicked on a little bit, even though the higher ups are still looking to kind of ship him off. Everything else, I think it's pretty standard. You're going to see Longstaff starting.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. Murphy's a great shout, but I do think that it's nice to have some quality options off the bench, at least for now. We'll see how things go in the next couple of weeks, but I'm hoping that Eddie kind of sees this and takes advantage of it, because we know in the past, even when he has had options, he's waited a little bit before he makes subs. So yeah, I think that'll be a pretty standard starting 11.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to be the biggest difference will be the back line. Apart from Pope, the only one I can see definitely starting with no question asked is Fabian Schär. Everyone else and Pope, everyone else, I'd love to see Tino. I'd like to see the one that you put out there, Jack, but I do think that we could even see the Kelly left back and Burn centre back, or vice versa, or Trippier on the right, or Tino on the right, which is fair enough. And again, it's nice talking as Newcastle fans that this, it's not like we're talking about putting on just tragic footballers now. It's almost, they all have their different qualities now. And I do think with Longstaff, he gives you that bit more defensive stability, because I really love Willock. He works his arse off, and you're right, Jack. He's one of the best ball carriers that we have. He really drives that ball forward with quality, and he can score a goal. So I'd like to see him start. I think it depends on how Eddie sees us, how strong he sees the opposition. I think he'll go cautious to begin with, because I think we'll just win anyway. Which leads me on to the last question, boys.
Wait, real quick, Mark. I want to ask. I want to ask. Do we think that Jamal Lewis will be on the bench for this game?
Oh, that's a great question.
Probably,
I would have said before preseason, no hope in hell this lad will be playing for Derby. What are you on about? And then he's been playing preseason. I've not been overly impressed, but I've not been unimpressed. He's been, I would like to see him. It gives you that depth, and it is his natural position. And when we signed him, I had high hopes. I was like, oh, this kid's going to be good. Young. He did all right for Norwich. And then just did a Lazar and just disappeared. never saw him. Yeah, what do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think Lewis will be on the bench. But Lewis was the one I was really excited about when Eddie Howe took over. I was actually really thought like, Howe's going to get the best out of Lewis. I'm really looking forward to this. And I mean, he played. I think Howe played him initially at the start, and he just wasn't. It just didn't happen.
Yeah,
it just didn't happen. And he was at Watford last season on loan. And if you speak to Watford fans about him, they were like, "Yeah, he was all right." Not a player who's like linked with Liverpool. Like a player Liverpool scouted and had genuine high ups that he was going to be Robertson's like long-term replacement. They genuinely saw him as that. So yeah, I think that Lewis is a shame, but yeah, it'd be nice to have him on the bench, because I mean, I don't know what's happened to Target. I mean, he's just AWOL. I mean, he tore his hamstring in October last year, and he's not been seen since. So yeah.
But he's another one where, again, he had a fantastic loan spell, and then he came in, and then he just fell over. He was just broken down. Bless his heart. I don't really like him, and I really hope that the wages aren't true from what I've seen, like 100K a week or whatever daft. Apparently, he's on, allegedly.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe those sites.
Yeah, hopefully, anyway. Bo, great question. I think definitely we'll see him on the bench, and hopefully we'll see him feature. Cup rotation is what we need. This year we'll have too many players, I think. Because as we learned last year, you can never have too many unless you're Chelsea. So I'll hit you back with the question, Bo. What is your score prediction for Saturday? Well, football's back. Getting excited.
Very excited. I know, right? It's exciting. A really exciting time. Went by like that. So for me, I think this game is going to be very, very interesting. Love the fact that we're at home. Obviously, it's against a newly promoted side, and it's one of those things where you want to take a look at and say, oh, we're winning 3-1, 4-1, or 4-0, easy. But at the same time, I can see us being comfortable. I think this is kind of a 3-1, 4-1 feel to it. And the only reason I say one is I wouldn't be surprised if there's a second goal. There's a goal in the second half after subs are made or something of the sort of that. But I do think team's been flying in preseason. Guys are healthy. Guys have been great and are in shape and fit. I would think that we're going to handle this comfortably. 4-1.
Yeah. So 4-1, you're saying, right, Jack?
Yep,
Any advance of
4-1.
4-1?
Yeah, I think so. I think Southampton will play it in Newcastle's hands. Wouldn't be surprised if they have even more of the ball than we do, because that's the way Russell Martin plays. He is possession based. That's how they like to play. They also, their main man's Adam Armstrong. And let's be honest, we've seen him in the Premier League quite a bit. I'm not sure he's good enough for the Premier League, to be brutally honest.
That's like Gale.
Yeah, he's proven it. He's proven it quite often in the times he's been in the Premier League. He doesn't really do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton have more of the ball. I think Joe Linton will have an absolute stormer because he'll just be able to get stuck into their midfield. But I don't think we'll absolutely destroy them, to be honest. I think it'll be a bit like the Nottingham Forest game a couple of seasons ago when we played them, when they just been promoted. So we needed a Fabian Schär screamer to open the deadlock, and then we won 2-0. So I'm going to go 2-0. I think Isak will score. I don't know who else scored the other one, but 2-0.
I'm just out 4-0. I put Southampton in my last video, bottom of the league. They are relegation fodder. We're going to absolutely smash them. The step up between the Premier League and the Championship is colossal, and we are a top 6 team. The way we play, fully fit, raring to go. The team won't be fitter than they are now, and they will just will have far too much. And I think we'll just absolutely smash them. I can't see anything other than that. And I agree. Isak's going to score. I think
Osula scores as well.
I'd love him. I'd love him too, but statistics indicate that will not happen. So I hope you're right, Bo. But yeah, so we're all predicting a win, and the lowest being a 2-0 comfortable win, I think it's on the cards. Anything other than a win, I think we would all consider to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Be a disappointing start of the season if we didn't beat Southampton. We've been handed quite a nice fixture list, to be honest.
It's a perfect one. I've looked through the entire fixture list itself, and there's not really a horrific, chunky 5 games. Maybe 2 in a row, and then it goes back to winnable games for us now. So look forward to the season, boys. But thank you very much for you both joining. Everyone that's watched and made it this far, put in the comments after you've liked and subscribed who you would like to see in the starting lineup, who you think is going to have a big season, and your score predictions against Southampton. Thank you again, lads, for joining me. And everyone else, take care. How are the lads?
Hey.